On March 26, 2010, DreamWorks Animation released one of the most iconic and beloved animated movies of all time, How to Train Your Dragon. Everyone knows it, everyone loves it. People love it so much, in fact, that in early 2023, Universal Pictures officially announced the development of everyone's favorite thing ever, a live-action remake. Fast forward to 2025, the movie releases to significant box office success, it receives positive reviews from audiences, and generally, most people think it's pretty cool. So then what's confusing about this movie, you ask? You read the title, you know there's a twist coming. You see, there's a bunch of people online who've criticized the How to Train Your Dragon remake for its lack of creativity, we'll say. Despite literally being called a remake, some people are very mad that a lot of scenes in this movie are basically one-to-one recreations of the original. A lot of people expected a fresh take on the story with new developments, leaving them kind of disappointed none of that happened at all. Like, obviously the movie's good, don't get me wrong, but it also doesn't really change anything from the original, leaving people to ask, what really is the point of this thing? I mean, obviously to make a bunch of money, but besides that. So today, in an attempt to find out what all the hate is about, I'll be watching the entire How to Train Your Dragon remake movie in full while explaining everything that happens and pointing out all the differences we see along the way. Instead of just telling you, I'll just show you. It's kind of my thing. So grab your copy of Universal Studios for the Nintendo GameCube and let's finally watch the How to Train Your Dragon live-action remake movie. Our adventure begins with a large establishing shot of an island as a mysterious voice explains everything that's going on. This is the Isle of Berk. It's pretty much the exact same thing as the animated version, which means it's still extremely dark and hard to see anything at all. It's also infested by dragons who steal and destroy everything about every 3 nights or so. How unfortunate. That's some very durable wood if a fire-breathing dragon can't even knock it down. I need to build my house out of that stuff. This character, whose voiceover I'm currently voicing over, is named Hiccup. He's super cool and has a big heart. Also, this is how the animated version of him looked for reference. You can judge this for yourself. Turns out Berk is an island full of Vikings, which means when the dragons attack, everyone on the island fights back. Everyone, that is, except for Hiccup, because he's kind of just a wimp and fights like a little baby.
Little baby man. Little baby man.
Hiccup runs into Stoick the Vast, the chief of the tribe and one of the best fighters to ever exist. While Stoick's crew name all the different types of dragons which are on screen right now, it's important to mention that there is one dragon that even the great Stoick seems to be afraid of. That dragon is called a Night Fury. It sounds very menacing. Hopefully we don't run into one or anything. Hiccup runs into the smithing area because although his strength stat is low, his crafting stat is actually pretty high. While there, he meets up with a Viking named Gobber. Gobber himself is actually really cool. He takes care of all the weapons and stuff. Although I do think the name Gobber is like a pretty goofy name, to be honest. It sounds like one of those AI animals wearing human clothes, you know what I mean? This is when we see Hiccup going all goo goo gaga and staring at someone in the distance. The girl he's staring at is named Astrid. It's not really that crazy to assume that Hiccup has a crush on this girl. If only he wasn't a nerdy loser who didn't know how to fight. Maybe he'd have a chance. Astrid pulls up with her squad of friends. They aren't super important in this movie, to be honest. Their names are Snotlout, Rough Nut, Tough Nut, and Fish Legs. Who on earth is naming all of these children? It sounds like a randomized gamer tag from World of Warcraft or something. Hiccup has a small conversation with Gobber about wanting to become a real Viking, and this is one of the minor changes from the original animated version of this movie. In the original, Hiccup seems to be more focused on making his father proud and fitting in with the rest of the island, whereas in the live action, Hiccup just really wants to impress Astrid.
My life will get infinitely better. I might even get a girlfriend.
By this point, by the way, the dragons are just completely destroying the village. Not sure what any of these guys are supposed to do, to be honest. The island even gets attacked by the mysterious Night Fury. That's the dragon I mentioned earlier that's very, very scary. Hopefully there's no pop-ups. Hiccup mentions how he wants to be the first person to ever kill a Night Fury because then Astrid will presumably love him forever. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but if you've watched my How to Train Your Dragon 3 video, you would know that at least one other person has already killed a Night Fury before. I know this Hiccup has no real way of knowing that at all, but it is kind of funny to see him freak out over trying to kill one when there's a dude with a bad haircut who's already offed like, I don't know, a couple dozen at least. Hey Universal, I know who you should cast to play Grimmel in the live action. He's very frightening. Get it? because he's a chef. Anyway, Hiccup pulls up to the edge of the island with the bomb shooter from Bloons TD6, except attached to his cannon is some rope to capture whatever he shoots at. I won't sugarcoat it, Hiccup randomly shoots after seeing some lights in the sky, and out of all odds, he somehow shoots down the Night Fury. The Night Fury falls from the sky and lands far away into a different part of the island. Real quick, I want to remind everyone just how fast these dragons actually are. Night Furies are described as being as fast as lightning with a top speed of over 2,000 miles per hour. Like, I think it's pretty safe to say that Hiccup has the best RNG maybe of all time. This dude should go open CS cases or something, like he's that lucky.
Did anybody see that?
Well, I think there's one creature that saw it, and he's about to turn you into a s'more, my guy. Hiccup then gets chased by a dragon across the city, burning it down in the process, which is when Stoick comes in and saves him, and the viewer finally finds out that Stoick the Vast, chief of the island, is actually Hiccup's father. These two could not be more opposite from each other, and Stoick isn't too happy with his son, to say the least. Only Viking's daughter or non-alpha son, you decide. Later into the night, and Hiccup tries to tell his dad that he captured a Night Fury, but because Hiccup has literally never done anything ever, his dad doesn't believe him. Hiccup really wants to prove to everyone that he's able to kill dragons, but his father refuses, saying this in front of the entire village.
You're many things, son, but a dragon killer is not one of them.
While getting sent home, the gang of kids we saw earlier all talk trash to Hiccup, calling him a nepo baby and a level 1 noob. How heartbreaking. This is when we get another weird difference from the original movie. Snotlout brags about how his father is at least proud of him, and while saying that, his dad passes by and just tells him to shut up. For some reason.
Dad, I was just talking.
Don't talk to me in public.
I could be completely wrong here, but I don't think we see Snotlout's dad at all during the animated movies. Doesn't really add much, I'll be honest. I just thought it was interesting, I guess. Stoick now has all the fighters in one room. He talks about going to find the dragon's nest and ending this war once and for all. And actually, credit to this movie because it actually has more emphasis on other Vikings in the village, not just like the main group of people. They also use this weird fortune teller lady a bit more. Her name is Gothy, I think is how you say it. Gothy, I don't know. They use her more in this movie. She's already done more in this one scene than she did in the entire original movie, to be honest. Also, I forgot to mention this earlier, but Stoick is played by Gerard Butler, who actually voices the OG Stoick in the animated version, so I don't know. It's cool how that character sounds the exact same. Stoick orders everyone to sail out at sea to go find the dragon's nest. Everyone except Gobber, who he orders to stay behind and train the kids of the island. Kids of the island being the like 6 characters we've met so far, by the way. Skipping to morning now, and Hiccup is looking around the island to find the dragon he shot down. After a bit, he finds a fully alive Night Fury tied up and helpless on the ground. He gets all hyped because this means he's not a loser anymore or something. But then, as Hiccup is about to kill it, seemingly just for bragging rights back at the village, he realizes that this thing is a living, breathing creature and doesn't deserve to die. So instead of stabbing it, Hiccup uses his little knife to cut the ropes binding the dragon. Side note, don't dragons have like armor-like skin or something? Isn't the whole point of dragons having scales to like protect them from sharp objects and all that? What are the odds this knife would have done anything at all anyway, you know? The Night Fury was probably chilling either way here. It's just something funny to think about. Anyway, as Hiccup unties the Night Fury, it quickly breaks free and backs Hiccup into a corner where the two share a very intimate moment together. I swear I made this exact joke before. The Night Fury lets out a devastating roar as Hiccup fears for his life. The dragon then flees, but visibly struggles to fly away. Man, why do I feel bad for the dragon already? He hasn't even done anything yet. Man, screw Vikings for being so mean. Hiccup has a conversation with his dad later that night that basically boils down to, I don't want to fight anymore, Dad. Too bad. I'm making you a fighter now. So the next day, it's now training time. Everyone's getting along except for Hiccup because he's awkward and stands all weird. Gobber shows up and says the next couple weeks will be filled with dragon training, and by the end of it all, the person who shows the most growth will have the honor of killing their very first dragon in front of the entire village. Call me crazy here, but I think killing a creature in a ritualistic sacrifice for hundreds of people to watch sounds a little culty? I don't know. What do I know? I guess I'm not in a cult. The training begins and a Gronkle dragon is released. The objective here is straight up just don't die. I'd imagine there's a good reason why there aren't more kids around the island to train with everyone. Everyone gets their shields blasted, and then eventually Hiccup gets cornered without a shield. The dragon is charging up his 4-mana fireball when Gobber moves the dragon last second, allowing Hiccup to narrowly avoid death. The whole point of this scene comes at the very end when Gobber mentions that dragons are evil killers, and if possible, dragons will always go for the kill. This goes against what Hiccup just went through with the Night Fury, where that thing definitely didn't go for the kill. It just screamed at him and ran ran away. Later that day, Hiccup goes to visit the area the Night Fury ran off to and notices that it's actually still stuck inside this place. The Night Fury's tail apparently got damaged when it got shot down, so now it can't fly anywhere and is stuck down here. It's also oddly slower, I think. Night Furies are supposed to be lightning fast, but now this dude can't even catch some fish in a lake. Maybe all his power was in his tail or something? I honestly have no idea. That night, all the kids are eating. Hiccup is alone because of course he is. Once everyone leaves, Hiccup approaches Astrid and says that maybe dragons aren't as bad as everyone thinks they are. As far as I can remember, this is kind of a new scene from the original movie. Astrid gets approached with the idea of friendly dragons a lot earlier in this movie, which further builds on hers and Hiccup's relationship. Of course, Astrid doesn't agree with the sentiment and just wants to kill everything because Vikings love to kill. Swing, swing, I'll kill you. Ah.
Maybe they're not as bad as we think they are.
Are you actually insane? Or
How do you know if they're really that bad though? Like maybe they're just hungry and want food. I'd get violent too if I had to fight for my food all the time. The next day and everyone's training yet again. It's more of the same with Hiccup almost dying and everyone else getting frustrated with him. Astrid in particular gets really angry.
Excuse me, what the actual
It's important to mention that Gothi, the weird future seeker girl, is watching this and is mysteriously using an abacus for some reason. I don't think I've seen one of these things since like middle school, but oh, maybe she's doing her math homework. I'm not here to judge. After training, Hiccup visits the Night Fury and decides to give it some fish, totally putting his life at risk. The Night Fury, probably starving by this point, doesn't attack, but instead slowly creeps up. This is when Hiccup first coins the name Toothless, as the Night Fury is seen to have its teeth retracted until they quickly pop out and bite the fish. From this point on, Hiccup calls the Night Fury Toothless, so that's what I'm calling him now. I'm pretty used to that name at this point, but if this is your first time ever watching one of these movies, it's honestly kind of a weird name. Anyway, yeah, this guy is Toothless now. Everyone say hi to Toothless. He's a really cool dragon. Toothless eats all of the fish and even regurgitates some to share with Hiccup. Cue the aw sound effect. This is so adorable. What's a little less adorable is that Hiccup actually takes a bite out of it. Not sure why he did that. Seemed a bit performative. And thus begins the night of Hiccup and Toothless. The two spend some time together and oddly enough bond by drawing stuff in the sand. The music gets really emotional and the two eventually stand across from each other. This is when we get the very iconic hand on forehead scene where Hiccup attempts to pet Toothless and Toothless actually allows him to do it. And it's not just an emotional scene. This scene alone actually explains so much to the viewer. It showcases how Hiccup and Toothless are actually starting to trust each other, which is huge. It gives meaning to the term never judge a book by its cover. And perhaps most importantly, it proves that most of what the Vikings think they know about dragons is actually completely wrong. L plus ratio plus factually incorrect. The next 30 minutes of this movie basically follows the exact same format we just did. Hiccup spends time with the other trainees. They talk about how evil dragons are. The next day, Hiccup spends time with Toothless, learning more about dragons and what makes them tick. Hiccup then goes to dragon training, where he uses that knowledge to quite literally train the dragons instead of fighting them. He feeds them fish to move them. He blows dandelions in their face to make them sneeze. He scratches their necks because they're basically all just giant dogs. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? During this process, Hiccup becomes pretty popular around town, although no one really catches on that he's not actually hurting the dragons somehow. I never really got that part, to be honest. Everyone wants to be his friend now. Gothi solves more math equations in between sessions. All this while Hiccup has slowly been building Toothless another tail flap and helping him learn to fly again. The coolest scene in this entire movie, in my opinion, comes when Hiccup and Toothless go all out on their first proper test ride. The visuals, the music, the sound design, the emotion, it's all done super well, and I'd argue this scene is as iconic as the forehead scene from earlier. There's a part where the two are about to fall and die, but they quickly catch themselves because these two are goated, and I love them. This is when I should mention that Stoick and the Vikings are all back from their trip. They did all that, like, mostly off camera. They went out at sea, but didn't really find anything. It was basically a big waste of resources. By the time Stoick gets back home, Hiccup is now a pro with all of the dragons. And this is kind of funny because now people go up to Stoick when he arrives and they say stuff like, "Your parenting troubles are over," and no one will miss that nuisance. Aren't you happy? Which obviously just makes Stoick think his kid died. Like, why on earth would you tell him that? Why are they letting him think that his son is dead? That's so bro's about to break down into tears. Stoick gets all hyped about his son being an amazing dragon killer, although we know that Hiccup isn't that at all.
This is awkward.
At the last training session, the winner of this whole thing is picked by Gothi, and she unsurprisingly picks Hiccup, meaning he gets the wonderful honor of taking an innocent creature's life in front of everyone. It's like I said, it's kind of a cult. Later that day, when Hiccup goes to feed Toothless again, and turns out Astrid shows up with the wrath of 1,000 Karens. She's angry and extremely sus of how Hiccup could pull any of this off. She's even about to beat Hiccup up, actually. But then Toothless appears from behind a rock and comes to Hiccup's rescue. Of course, Astrid freaks out like a paranoid schizophrenic, which comes the awkward part where Hiccup has to try to explain everything to Astrid and prove that Toothless is just a chill guy who wants fish.
We're dead.
Astrid runs away, so Hiccup and Toothless are forced to kidnap her, Fazbear style. The idea, of course, is that they can catch up to her, and then Hiccup can convince Astrid to give Toothless a proper chance. At one point, she's literally hanging on for dear life off of a big rock, so there's not much convincing needed, to be honest. The three then fly across the ocean and in between mountains in a really epic scene. Toothless purposely makes the ride chaotic to screw with Astrid until she apologizes. Honestly, it's kind of funny. They ride through the clouds and look at the lights in the sky. It's super pretty. I'm not tearing up. You are. Astrid and Hiccup have a moment where they both agree dragons are chill, but they don't think the rest of the village would really agree. But then, out of nowhere, a bunch of other dragons appear, which lead our gang to a mysterious-looking volcano mountain thing. Once inside, Hiccup and Astrid look onward as the rest of the dragons drop all their food they stole into the endless pit. Bro, they're getting rid of all the food. The poor dragons in Skyrim could have eaten that. What a waste, dude. Of course, the dragons all dropping their food in the pit isn't actually for nothing, because what slowly comes out of the pit but a giant omega dragon named the Red Death. Very fitting name, although this looks more like orange to me than red, but you know, tomato, tomato. I guess. We find out that the Red Death is actually the alpha dragon, which means it's able to control all of the other dragons around. It's kind of like a beehive, and this is the queen. After flying back home, Hiccup and Astrid realize that dragons aren't actually bad, but are just being controlled by one giant dragon to scavenge for food. This is the reason their village even gets attacked in the first place. Hiccup and Astrid agree not to tell anyone about this yet, so we cut to the next day, and it's time for Hiccup to viciously murder a dragon for fun. The whole town is ready to watch, and Hiccup is ominously waiting with his stereotypical pointy Viking hat. We get like 3 or 4 serious pans of Hiccup's face where he looks like he needs extra strength Benadryl, and that's enough waiting as the time has finally come. Hiccup is in the arena, the dragon is released, and to everyone's surprise, he immediately drops his weapons and tries to talk the dragon down.
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm not one of them.
Stoick gets mad because all he knows is fighting, and the thought of being sentimental for even a single moment terrifies him. He smacks his axe against the railing, which makes the dragon go crazy and start attacking. Hiccup tries to escape, but kind of fails, which means he's actually about to die. But then Toothless, I guess, heard his cries and came to save Hiccup, revealing himself in front of the entire village. It's extremely clear here that Toothless isn't trying to hurt Hiccup in any way, but you know what they say, Vikings will be Vikings, which means they all dogpile him anyway. GG Toothless, you will be missed. It's important to mention that Toothless could probably wipe everyone out here if he really wanted to, but Hiccup specifically asks him to stop, so instead Toothless just willingly gets captured. It's actually a pretty sad scene, and it happens pretty much exactly like this in the original movie, but the real life performances from the actors here are also really good, so congrats to them, credit to them, they did a great job.
No, don't hurt him! Steve!
No! Why you gotta be so rough with Toothless? He's the friendliest creature ever. God, I hate people. Hiccup and his dad argue a bit later. Stoick pushes Hiccup to the ground because he doesn't respect his son. Later on, Stoick has this idea of using Toothless to lead the Vikings to the giant nest. We, the viewer, know there's a giant death dragon in that volcano, but Stoick doesn't really believe in any of that, so he just goes anyway. All the Vikings are instructed to go attack the nest while the kids stay behind. They honestly find this place easy peasy and attack it with all of their power. A bunch of dragons fly out of the cave, which for some reason the Vikings take as a sign of victory. Like, even if that was all of the dragons, they're still alive. Like, they're still flying somewhere else. You didn't really do anything. Not sure why you're celebrating here, buddy. But of course, that's not all of the dragons, because then the ground trembles and the monstrous Red Death finally appears, causing even more chaos and killing at least a couple Vikings, I would assume. He's causing a lot of damage here. Okay, someone's gotta die. There's no way. Toothless completely tied up, can't do anything despite him wanting to help. The fight is looking pretty grim when all of a sudden, Hiccup, Astrid, and all the other kids show up, each on a different dragon to save the day. You see, while Hiccup was being all depressed back home, him and Astrid thought of a plan to get the other members of the party on some dragons and to fly over to help out. There was a really cool scene where Hiccup proves to them the dragons are friendly. It's the exact same as the original, not gonna lie, but it's still pretty cool. So now we have all these kids on dragons distracting the Red Death as Hiccup tries to find Toothless. He approaches him but can't seem to get him free. The battle heats up as the Red Death claims more victims and Toothless gets launched underwater. This is when, in the redemption arc of the movie, Stoick goes underwater and realizes the severity of his mistakes. Using his raw strength, he frees Toothless, which allows him and Hiccup to fly off and save the day, but obviously not before this very heartwarming moment.
I'm proud to call you my son.
Oh, I'm actually starting to tear up, man. I knew it was gonna happen and it still got me. You win this time, dude, whatever. I will admit, this final fight scene is actually more involved than the original, in my opinion. It's cool to see characters like Snotlout and Astrid get a bit more offense compared to the animated version. They still don't do much, but they feel less useless during this fight, at least, which, you know, I think is a plus. Toothless, being extremely OP, leads the Red Death into the sky and shoots holes into its wings and eventually down its throat. Both dragons, alongside Hiccup, crash land into the ground. The Red Death crashing looks kind of funny to me. He looks like he crumples up like an empty soda can or something. Hiccup and Toothless crashing as well. While Stoick approaches, he sees his son safe and protected by none other than Toothless, the dragon Stoick mistreated this entire time. Once again proving that dragons aren't evil creatures and that Toothless truly cares for Hiccup in a way no other person can. Stoick thanks Toothless, which is a nice touch. And now skipping ahead a couple days, and we see Hiccup waking up in his bedroom with Toothless alongside him. We also find out that Hiccup did lose one of his feet in the accident, which I think gives a good amount of severity to the action scenes in this movie. And also him and Toothless are matching now, which is cute. In the original movie, I said that him and Gobber were matching because Gobber's got like a peg leg, but it's more, I think it's meant to be him and Toothless, not him and Gobber. I don't know why I said that. Hiccup opens his door to see a changed world. He sees the Isle of Berk filled with dragons, but not because they're attacking, but because they're helping. The Vikings of Berk have fully embraced the world of dragons and are now helping them live, learning to ride them and living amongst them. Astrid and Hiccup share a kiss, cause let's go, this is awesome. And the movie ends with Hiccup and Toothless flying into the distance as Hiccup reiterates the beginning monologue. This is Berk. The food isn't good, the people are arguably worse, but that's alright because this place now has dragons. And that was the entire How to Train Your Dragon live action movie. Was it as good as the original? Just to remind you the point of this video, this is obviously a really good movie. I wouldn't blame you if you said you liked it a lot or even liked it more than the original. The point I'm trying to make is that both movies are very, very, very similar. Sure, some scenes are different and they add a bit of extra spice here and there, but this is basically a retelling of the exact same story, just done with real people. That on its own is obviously a great achievement. I think the environments, the dragons, the effects, everything looks really good in this movie. I also think the real life performances were really good, actually. This is clearly a very good movie, so in that sense, massive clap for you. This is hype. But it's up to you whether or not being an exact copy of the original is a deal breaker or not. On one side, I absolutely love this franchise and welcome any new addition to it, except for that one show. I don't like that one. But on the other side, it can be a little difficult to ignore the reason this movie was even made in the first place. If I had to guess, they just wanted to print a bunch of money, so why not re-release an already written and proven story? Obviously, I could be wrong. Maybe the live action version was always the big plan for this franchise. I honestly don't know. But that's kind of the fun thing about movies. You can hate them or you can love them for basically any reason you want. At the end of the day, I'm just some random guy on the internet talking about movies that I enjoy, and that's basically it. It's really not that deep. I'm just talking about it. But I would like to know where you stand on this movie existing. Is it actually hype or is it kind of pointless? Is it both maybe? That's probably an option. I don't know. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Leave a like and comment. It helps out the video a ton. If you want to support me even more, you can become a member of the channel, which only costs you $1. It gets your name here at the end of all my future videos. It gets you access to a Discord server I will be opening up sometime soon, and gets you access to my full reactions to future movies later on. Thank you to all my current members for your support. You guys are the best, and I appreciate you all so much. Paula Abdul scores this one a solid live action remake out of 5. And yeah, thanks for watching.
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm not even gonna girlfriend.